Hello, 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 lovely listener. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's guest is Yvonne Dodoo. She is the most amazing friend of mine, and although we're in the same field, she coaches actors. I'm a performance coach for performers. We have this bond, and don't listen to anyone when they say that you can't be friends with your competition, because it's absolute, I want to say a real good swear word there, but it is rubbish. Yvonne is the most amazing human being, and I just wanted to get her on the podcast because she's got such an infectious, bubbly personality, and she's just full of light, spirit, and great wisdom for the business. So get that cup of tea or coffee or herbal tea or squash or pop or whatever else you want to grab, and let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Performer Podcast. Stay tuned for practical tips, strategies, and interviews that will help you get one step closer to that performing career dream of yours. Hosted by me, Michelle Thole, success and performance coach for performers, a proud Hufflepuff, bopper, and a theme park lover. So here we go, on with the show. Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in. We have Yvonne Dodoo here, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a great opportunity to connect with another coach and share some nuggets of information.
Definitely. Now, Yvonne, we know each other very well, being in the creative life coaching business. But one thing I was reading your bio, which will be in the notes for everyone as well, and obviously we've done the intro for you. But one thing I was reading was the fact that your coffee is one of your morning rituals. What's that all about?
Oh my goodness. So quite honestly, so I go to the gym first thing in the morning. So I'm one of the people that, you get there and you're waiting before the doors open. That's me. But in order for me to get to that point, I need a cup of coffee. And when I have a cup of coffee, that allows me to sort of like start to wake up, and it just gets me going for the rest of the day. So I kind of feel like before I get up, I have a cup of coffee, I have a quiet time, sort of like, okay, what's the plan for the day? And then I can get to the gym. So by the time I've got to the gym, I'm awake and I'm in and I'm ready for the day. So it's kind of like, it's just a thing to keep me going. Like lots of other people have different things, but coffee works for me.
I love that. That's fantastic. Would you say that a morning routine is actually very important, or obviously it sounds important to you, but how important would it be for performers that are listening to this to maybe set them up for the day?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think, without the time to think about what it is you want to do, there is no sort of focus or discipline. So you can kind of amble through the day and you kind of forget that you've actually got things to do. Whereas if you wake up, you just take a few moments to think about what do you want to achieve for the day or what actually needs to be done. You actually get a lot more done if you just take those few moments. I think as a performer, someone who is creative, it is very important for you to set yourself up to start the day. And I always find that first thing in the morning. I know a lot of people tend to do it the night before, so they prepare what they're going to wear, or they prepare any sort of bags or, gym stuff or work that they've got to do. So top and tail, I normally find are the best points of the day in which to kind of focus and plan for the time ahead.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, especially if you've got an audition the next day, you want to get the bag ready. You want to know what the travel, if there's any travel disruptions or whatever, that type of thing.
And I think, when I was living in London, the thing about the traveling the night before, it's always, you always need to be early, ready for any sort of eventuality. Tube strikes can happen at any time, but if you're prepared for sort of most things, you can kind of cover it off and not sort of let that interrupt your audition, your kind of focus for the day sort of thing. So I think for me, I like to sort of have a think about the night before what I want to do for the day, and then in the morning, plan, focus, write down, and then get going.
Sounds great. So you are a creative life coach.
Yeah.
What does that mean, and how can it help performers?
Sure. So I love the term creative because creative is all encompassing, but my main focus at the moment is actors, dancers, musicians, anyone that considers themselves creative in the traditional sense. But I've also started working with people who have always had a creative hobby on the inside. So I was recently working with a mother who wanted to open up an online stationery shop, but she just forgot about who she was creatively. So we've started to work together. But creativity is anything that you want it to be that allows you to be who you are in an expressive form. Mm-hmm. So traditionally, we consider that as the actors, as the musicians who allow that themselves to come out through their art. But nowadays, I feel the majority of us have a creativity. It's about finding what works for us and giving ourselves permission to play that out. So some people like to do that and create a career out of that, and that's, acting. But there are others who have let their sort of dreams die as they've gotten through life, or, they've had children, So those are the people that I'm really interested in working with and create. I'm all about getting you re-engaged with your creativity. I'm all about helping you create goals, focus, and sustain progress throughout your creativity life. So that could mean you setting up goals and moving forward with that. What does that look like? Do you want to work with certain people? Do you want to believe in yourself more? Do you want to have more confidence? Do you want to raise your self-esteem? These are the things that affect our creativity, or affect the way that we work with people and connect with people. And if people are experiencing those things, working with someone like me, who's a creative coach, can tap into what you really want to do, and we can bring that out more so that you can actually start living that creativity, living that life that, that everyone wants to live, but you can start with yourself first.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? Especially because we are creative beings.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time we feel, this real push-pull to do the 9 to 5, to do the conventional thing, when in actual fact we are born to create, we are born to grow, we are born to enjoy life. And it isn't just about sitting at a desk all day, is it? It's about feeling that creativity and just going with it.
Yeah, and you, in that place from creativity, you get to live so much life. You get to connect with people. You get to see new things, dig inside yourself and bring it out a bit more. And I think Brené Brown talks about vulnerability being the birthplace of creativity.
We love Brené on the show.
We love her. And, I'm such an advocate of her work. And I absolutely believe, what she's encouraging us to delve into as human beings. But this thing about creativity and her work really reminded me that anyone has access to that. And regardless of whether you feel like it's, you are that actor and that's what you're supposed to do, that's not the only be all and end all to creativity. It could be the creativity within your home, within your family, spending quality time being an adventurer. I would argue that these things are all creative, and actually we need to be doing more of those things so that we can be living more whole sort of lives.
Yeah, and also it feeds into one another. For instance, if you are more adventurous, if you do go on a massive hike in the wilderness, you come back and you bring that experience to your acting, to your dancing, to your singing. Everything feeds and bleeds into each other.
I absolutely agree. And that's why it's so important for us to be living from this place of creativity so that we can add value to our lives. We can add value to the things that we experience so that when we do get that part and, we're overlooking this horizon and we can absolutely remember that time when, I was in, Humberside or somewhere and I was on a hill, and you just connect with that moment. You're not depriving yourselves of creative experiences, because later on down the line you will be in a position to kind of utilize those and explore those in your creativity.
I had a client who said that she couldn't take any time off just in case there was an audition looming on the horizon. And I was just like, actually, it's the worst thing to do, because you're going to enrich your life by going and having a holiday, by having some downtime, because you reassess your importance of your dream comes into the forefront because you've had time to completely relax and take away all the pressures and also people's anxieties or expectations of you.
Absolutely. And I remember writing a blog post about this, and I years ago, literally when I came out of drama school, and I was in a relationship, and he wanted to go deeper and take it, and I was like, I put it on hold. I said, no, my career comes first. But I deprived myself, when looking back on it now, I deprived myself of an experience, of an emotional sort of journey, because I was waiting for something to sort of happen. And actually that's a very dangerous place to be creatively, because you don't know how that experience is going to move you forward in life or in your career performing as such. And I think it's a very dangerous place when you start to put your life on hold in that way, because you can never get that time back. I will never be able to get that time back. I don't know if that relationship would have worked or not. I almost feel like it wouldn't have worked just because where I was emotionally as a person. But looking back now, we should never put things on hold. We should never be in that place of putting life on hold, because what you're then saying to yourself is, I don't want to gain new experiences, because you're not going to be able to bring those to the characters, to the music, to the art that you want to share with the world. So I think it's absolutely important that you do that.
And also, art is an expression of life. And how can you be an artist if you're not experiencing those other aspects of life?
100%. And especially now, when we are all about the social media and, showing ourselves, I think now more than ever, we need to be in a place where we are putting down our phones and engaging with one another. We need to be experiencing, looking at each other, seeing each other, making each other known, because when you put yourself out there, i.e. as an artist, people want to see you. They don't want to see you via a screen. They want to see authenticity. But authenticity doesn't come unless you're being vulnerable and sharing the real self. But you can't do that unless you're putting yourself out into the world, living a creative life, being who you are, and seeing where that leads you.
Do you know, I kind of just, I can feel it just like soaking in everything that you're saying, because I feel that is the truth, and I'm sure people listening will really resonate with that. So thank you for sharing that, because it's such an important point.
Yeah, I think, in just after Christmas, we kind of start to reevaluate. Everyone's like the new year, and maybe, it's time to start thinking about, how do you get back to being yourself? How do you get back to arming yourself with sort of tools to sort of go back to who you are as a person, so that you can actually share that and gain those new experiences. So I think now more than ever I don't know, it's a hot topic. A lot of people are talking about it. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today.
Definitely. So you talked a bit earlier about creating confidence and resilience and mindset when you are coaching your clients. So why is it so important to have those things when you're pursuing a career in the arts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough career, as both you and I know. It's not a career that, that is built for someone who isn't a confident person or doesn't have the resilience. And I think it's important that you need to arm yourself, or at least, or at a minimum, surround yourself with people who will be able to encourage you when times are tough. Because as a performer, when we want to start making money from our art form, the initial stages are the hardest.
Yeah.
And I remember being told at drama school, it could take 3 jobs before you get to the place that you want to be. But it could be years before those 3 jobs sort of link and you get to where you want to be. But actually, in those moments, you need to arm yourselves with, I would say, a toolkit, or at least a bunch of friends who are going to support you in that process. And what I love about coaching is that on a regular basis, you can engage with someone who is outside of your circle, who is I'm sort of on your case. I don't sit down and, I'm quite sort of like get into the heart of the matter, and who will actually challenge you and challenge your thought process, that will allow you to get out of the negative thought process, that you can actually find yourself in these moments and actually find new ways to cope, new ways to get back to yourself, new ways to feel alive again, so that you can, on a regular basis, get back to the reason why it is that you're performing, why it is that you're an actor, that you love sharing your music with people, or you love drawing. So these are, I don't know, I just think it's just very, very important that, especially in this creative industry, that you need to be in a place where you are confident in your ability, but also in who you are as an individual. Whether you start making money straight away or not, you need to have that confidence and self-belief.
Yeah, 'cause what I'm hearing you say, Yvonne, is it actually goes at a level of worthiness and
Yeah,
knowing you're worthy of the dream in which you're pursuing.
absolutely. And I think a lot of us, we all have talent, because otherwise we wouldn't be studying, we wouldn't be working blood, sweat and tears. We all have that talent. But I would say when I was coming up, when I was sort of learning, I didn't feel like I was worthy to be on the stage with these people who had all of that confidence from the beginning. And I just wish that I knew about life coaching about 15 years ago, because I 100% believe that I would be in a different position, and I possibly, everything happens and I'm happy where I'm at. But what I'm saying is that if you knew that you could have a mentor or a coach that would help prepare you into this world, you would kind of keep fighting a little bit longer. You would keep going a little bit longer. You would believe in yourself, and you would feel like you deserve to be on that stage. You deserve to share your talents with the world and tell lots of stories through that. But at that point, I think I didn't have that. I didn't have someone helping me. And that's what I love about the work that we do, is because we actually help people. We actually put them in a position where they take back control. They take back the direction of their career, and we empower them to go back into life and say yes.
Definitely. You don't need to sell me on coaching. I'm 100% there. I love it. I love coaching so much because, like you said, I think if I had somebody like you, like me right now, when I was starting my career, I know I would have been so further ahead. It's
Yeah,
out the middle bits of
absolutely.
struggle and it's really interesting hearing you saying about your experience because you were an actress.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, do you have any tips or strategies for anyone watching or listening right now that can overcome stage fright or nerves before actually being on stage and doing the best performance ever?
Yeah, I did used to have a little bit of stage fright, but what really helped me actually was first and foremost having the connection with the team and with the group. I think that's really, really important. If you're working with a group, that's the best. Having a good connection. But if you're a performer, if you're a singer and you're going out for yourself, I would always take a few moments before you start performing and just center yourself and remind yourself why it is you do what you do. Because when you go back to the beginning, when you go back to the start, it kind of calms you. It calmed me in those moments. I wanted to tell a story, and I wanted to do that story justice. Because what you have to do in those moments is remove yourself from that and from the character, and actually place yourself in that character, because you're telling that person's story. And at the heart of any sort of performance is a story. It is a real person. So I think it's really important to remind yourself of that in those moments, and take a massive, massive breath, because when we get stage fright, we forget to breathe. We're sort of like, I can't, actually just good deep breath actually can just release all of the tension in the shoulders, in the face. I mean, I always had tension in my shoulders, so I was forever breathing. But don't forget to breathe.
And whenever you go to any rehearsals, or even I'm speaking predominantly for I guess for all performers, because you have that sense of warming up.
Yeah.
You have those movement classes in drama school, don't you? And
Yeah.
knowing how to use your voice, and sometimes all that goes out of the window because nerves come in. So it's really important, like you say, just to take it back to the most simple step, which is breathe.
Yeah, absolutely. You do that. You forget, even on our daily lives, we forget to breathe, and we're busy. I often talk very, very fast, and that's because I forget to breathe, and I'm dyslexic. So I always, my fear is forgetting to say what was in my head. So I speak really, really fast. But actually, if I've got somebody's attention, take a breath, value what I've got to say and share with somebody, and then I'll get the words out. But back in the day, it was like, oh, you just speak really, really fast and da-da-da.
Did you use any strategies to help with your dyslexia within when you're like learning lines and that type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, I just had lots of, so for me it was like repetition, and back then when dyslexia wasn't very known back then, so it was you were kind of fending for yourself. I had sort of like a learning buddy where, you know, it was about repetition for me, but the important thing for me was learning what it, you know, why was I saying what I was saying? How did I want to change the person with my words? And that would often help me and remind me in learning my lines. And I've got sort of like a photographic memory as well, so that sort of helps me.
That helps.
Helps me see the words on the page, but then once I would see them, I would need to embody them. So I've sort of got two sort of sets of brain, sort of side of my brain's working at the same time. It's very complicated, but I get there eventually.
It's like rubbing your head and tapping your stomach. Is that the right way?
Absolutely.
So what is it that you would like to tell the listener right now about something that they need that they may not be getting in other places that they're looking? Does that make sense what I'm saying? I feel like I'm just running a circle, but
yeah, just go into it a bit more.
So if, for instance, you could tell in 2 sentences a performer right now in front of you the best piece of advice you could give, what would you say?
Oh, that's a very good question. But what I would say is it's important for you to tell your story. No one has had your experiences. No one has lived your life. So I would encourage each and every one of us who is too busy, I was certainly too busy trying to be like other actors or other people. I was forgetting that I had experiences that I could bring to these characters that no one else could bring. So I would set people, or I would give you permission to be yourselves, because how you play Ophelia will be different to how I play Ophelia. Neither one is right or wrong, but it's about using your own experiences to portray a character that is telling a story of life, you know. So that is my one piece of advice that I wish someone had given to me.
Yeah.
When I was starting, because actually I was too busy going, oh no, actually I want to be like that person because they're acting really, really well. But then I forget that, like, I'm a really good actress, but I need to tell the story my way and the way that Yvonne does it. So that's what I would tell you.
I love that, because I think especially in the arts, we are taught to be in this comparison as if art.
Oh my goodness.
And when you go into a casting and there's 10 other people who look exactly like me, exactly like you, Yvonne, and you think, how am I going to break through? And then the doubts come up. If you stand in your, again, we're going to use the word worthiness. If you stand in that worthiness, like you were just saying about your experience, that in a way it grounds you and it humbles you to go in there and just rock it. And to not feel like you have to do a carbon copy of another person's portrayal of a character that you saw when you went to rehearsals, or you know, in acting class, or especially I think this way as well, like the way Adele will sing a song in comparison to the way Sam Smith can sing a song. They're singing, if they pick a cover, they're probably singing they will be singing the same song, but in a completely different way.
Absolutely.
But they're both just as beautiful. They're both
because they're both coming with different experiences, and different words will mean different things to those artists individually. That's why it's so important for us to be reminded that it's okay to be who you are, where you've come from, because those experiences will colour your creativity and your art. Those experiences will bring new shades to the thing that you're creating. So never be afraid of doing that. And I think in this day and age, you know, with Instagram and things being curated and we're being sold visions of ourselves that we're supposed to be, you know, be very careful when you enter down that road, because it's, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. So you can forget, you know, how beautiful you are in that moment, and you can forget all the work that you've done when you've entered that audition room, but
Mhm.
then that's all spoiled the moment you've seen somebody else who you know has done more work than you, but you don't know that that casting director hasn't brought you in for a specific reason because
Mhm.
of who you are. So don't go down that path. Be very, very careful, because it's a long road back, is what I will say.
Yeah, and I'm just drinking that in. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Because when you go into that audition room, I remember when I used to go into to audition room, I would have prepared. I was, I would go in and I wouldn't give a monkeys about, anyone else. And then the moment I saw that this other girl had been on the same auditions and she'd got the majority of the jobs,
Yeah.
I would sink and I wouldn't go in, and I wouldn't, all the work that I'd done had gone.
Mm.
And, I remember the times where I have got the jobs, where I have been, is when I've been myself, is when I've gone in there, I've delivered my truth, I've delivered my version of the story, and I've got the job. But when you're too busy thinking about it, you forget to have fun. You forget to be in the moment. You forget to draw the character out. And actually, you're too busy worrying about, oh no, I didn't say that word right, or I wasn't in the moment.
Mm.
If they like you, they will work with you in that room. So don't be under that misconception that, that they want you to be a specific way. They want you to be you with this character.
Yeah. What are some do's and don'ts then when in auditions?
And I mean, a lot of people tell you different things. I personally, like to smile and say hello and be very friendly with people. A lot of people are like athletes in those situations. They're in the zone. Um, it really does depend on what works for you. I like to be nice to people, remember people, because ultimately you'll be seeing the same people again and again. You'll
Mm.
be, so I tend to be, nice, smile at the assistants, be really respectful. But I would say that, like, do your work,
Yeah.
do your work. Um, but don't, do your work to an extent that you don't, you're not in the pub the night before and whatnot, but like,
Mhm.
do your work, study the character, bring it to the table, withhold nothing, in that audition room. But know that you're going to be okay if you don't get it.
Okay, so those were nuggets of wisdom. Withhold nothing. Do
Withhold
you know,
nothing.
I'm gonna tell you a little story. It's only gonna be a little, a really small thing. When I was doing my driving test, I was so nervous, and I thought, no, I've been on stage. I know how to, combat nerves, and I thought halfway, I was holding back. I was being very, very cautious
Mm,
because I was being tested, and then there was a point in which I felt like I'd hit the curb, and in my head, I had this moment like, I've messed it up now. So
yeah,
let me just give it all I've got. And in that moment of complete surrender,
you
at the
release.
end, he was like, "You passed." And I imagined hitting the curb. I never actually hit the curb. It was my mind playing tricks on me. And when I
Absolutely.
actually didn't withhold
Mm,
everything and actually just let everything
let
go,
go.
the magic happened.
Absolutely. And I think the same can be said for when we don't do the work, or when we get into the audition room, we withhold, or we become really, really tense.
Yeah.
I think you've just got to go in there and just be yourself and
Mm.
see what you can do. Because at the end of the day, in that audition room, they want to find the best version of that character, the
Yeah.
best person for that job. So they're not going to sit there. They're not going to have brought you into the room for you to bail. So they are rooting for you. You know, they want you to succeed. So don't have that misconception that they're sitting there going, no, they're wasting their time. But if you withhold nothing, and even if you don't get that job, you don't know that they might not be thinking about other roles for the coming weeks that they
Mm.
might bring you in for.
Yeah.
That's why it's important never to withhold.
Yeah. I mean, there's been so many instances of people going in for lead roles and then ending up with a
Yeah,
supporting actor role. And then they were really
absolutely.
disappointed. Oh, I didn't get this. No, because you were actually way better for this role, or the opposite, going in for a
Yeah.
supporting actor role and coming out as a lead actress,
Mm,
or actor, but um very interesting about going down that road, because you just said be the best version of that character.
mm,
You didn't say be the best version of the person they want you to be,
yeah.
because it isn't about you when you go into that audition. It's about
100%.
what you're doing in regards to the character in which you're
Yes.
portraying. Or if I know we're talking specifically there about acting, but even when it comes to singing, you
Mm.
have to forgive yourself for not being perfect and allow yourself to make mistakes when you're in the
Yeah.
audition room, because actually if you withhold nothing, then you're actually able to deal with anything that
Yeah.
comes up. So whether that's a
Absolutely.
whether that's a mistake or whether you completely nail it, you'll deal with it because
Yeah.
you didn't withhold anything.
You did with, and also you were authentic in those moments. You
Mm,
weren't sort of like putting on a front and then
yeah.
having to step out of it. You were just in the moment, and in the moment of life, we do mess up and we go, oh, do you know what? Let me try that again. They will
Mm,
absolutely give you that space. You know, if you've done the work and you withhold nothing, they would. I'm pretty sure that they would say that that's okay. Let's go again. But
exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
just be present and be open and see what happens.
Mm. I could literally talk about loads of different things right now, Yvonne. Like I could speak to you forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
We've got so much in common, and I just love talking about mindset and confidence and resilience with you. And we're nearly coming to the end, so I want to
Yeah.
get a few more nuggets of info from you,
Sure.
to really help the listener right now. Um, if you are, I would say, not being represented in the arts, you're a minority, um we know this whole movement with girls at the moment and
Mm.
their under representation in the arts, being a black person or disabled. How can you break through if you are part of that cohort? There are cohorts, maybe the wrong word, but you know what I mean, this being
Yeah.
misrepresented. How can you break through?
I think that's such a topical question right now, and I
Mm.
think collaboration is a word
Mm.
that is a
Yeah.
buzzword for me right now,
Yeah.
and there is power in numbers. Okay, and I think your most helpful tool if you're in a minority or you're feeling marginalized. You're not the only one. Trust me. So I would say get a team together.
Mm.
Tell your stories. Um, I wrote a play because I didn't think that my story was being told, and a few years ago it was then put on in the Almeida just as a series of plays, and I was
Yes,
encouraged.
Yvonne.
I was encouraged for my
Yeah.
to keep writing and to get my story, but that was only because nothing was happening for me, and
Mm.
so I said to myself, why not write a play? Why not get a team of people in? And that happened in a space of like a couple of months, and I'd had a play and it was on and we had a rehearsed reading. That was because I didn't I said yes to the opportunity of working with different kinds of people, and
Mm.
I would encourage you to work with other people too. There is no shame in collaboration, because collaboration is going to arm you with tools to go out and work with different kinds of people. So don't be afraid to go, I've got an idea, do you fancy working with me? Or
Yeah.
I'd really like this to happen. Put the word out, see what feedback you get from other people. I know people who are going on GoFundMe, who are starting a theatre program. I know people
Mm.
who are drumming up money for short films. Your story is valid, and it's up now more than ever. You have an opportunity to put it out in any format that you wish. Um, so collaboration is your most powerful tool, I would say.
I love that. There was two things that came out from that as well. Obviously, like totally, completely agree with the collaboration. But the one thing that came out, the word that was popping up in my head while she was saying that, is actually being proactive.
Yeah.
You didn't sit on your laurels. You didn't say, right, okay, it's not happening for me. Okay, I'll just go and work in, the local shoe shop for a bit, and then I'll come back and see. I'll check the
Mhm.
casting call pro and see if there's
Mhm.
anything going on there. You were proactive. You made something happen. You had the decision, you moved forward, and you collaborated. And I loved it when you said your story is valid, because
Mm.
even though at the moment it's not being represented, it doesn't mean there isn't a market out there or an audience that would
Absolutely.
like to see that. Your story is always valid.
And I think this is the misconception that we're sold, that like in the mainstream media, it's only a main sort of story is told, or about a specific kind of person. There is a market for everyone and
Mm.
everywhere. And I think it's very, very dangerous when we start to limit ourselves creatively to going, oh no, I can only do that kind of story, or I can only play that kind of person. well, if you're creating the work, who tells you what's right and what's wrong? That's where that's the beauty in collaboration, because
Yeah.
over the years you form these relationships, and within these relationships you're going to go up the ladder together. Now, you may or may not choose to do that now, or you may decide, you know what, I prefer working on my, on my own. That's fine too. But there's power in numbers. You can pull together your resources, your creativity. You can have all of these things happen for you, but you've got to be brave enough to say, yes, right, I want to make it happen, and I want it to do it this way. And you can write your rules. You can say how it's going to be done, because things are not going to be dictated to you. So massive opportunity there.
Yeah, and I also think the mindset now is there isn't just one path. There isn't just
Yeah,
one way. There isn't just one you know, the traditional way in which we've been taught isn't the only option now.
no.
Before, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was the only option.
Mm,
However, there's other options available. There's building your social media profile. There is, like you say, collaborating with others around you, starting where you're planted rather than in your head, going to the big,
absolutely.
massive dream. Oh, well, I want to
Absolutely.
go to Hollywood. Well, if you're not prepared to be proactive and collaborate and get out there and do your thing and be, you know, truthful and authentically you,
Yeah,
then it starts every single day with every step that you take.
absolutely. And I think it's really, really important to not forget that you've got a support network who will always encourage you. So your family and your friends, they will always be your number one supporters. So if you're a musician and you're like, you want to get your music out there, you don't know that one of your friends might invite another person, who might invite another person just to your to your house gig or whatever.
Mm.
My boyfriend was just even this morning, he was telling me I bought him a gig, some tickets to a gig, to this kind of, I don't know, random band. But he was just telling me this morning, this band were playing for people in their homes, and they were just inviting their friends. 2 years later, they're now playing in London and in Manchester, because they were just sharing their art with people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to not forget, if you share your art with those around you, you don't know the ripple effect that it's going to have to
Yeah.
get out into the wider world. Don't be afraid to share it with your people.
Yeah. We are coming to the end. I've got one final question for you, Yvonne.
Go for
Before
it.
I will ask you it and then I'll wrap up. So, for a performer who is in drama school, singing school, dancing school, maybe they're a comedian, for all the performers out there right now who are studying and are coming to the end of their studies and they're just about to go into the big wide world,
Mm.
what tangible steps can they take in order to achieve their dreams and to be a successful performer?
Sure. I think there are kind of like a number of things. I think it's important to have in mind what it is that you really want to do. Okay. And then you need to make a plan. Okay. But I would also set some goals towards that plan. I would also try and find some sort of mentor to walk alongside you. So someone who is a bit further on down the line, not necessarily one that's achieving all the level of success that you actually want, but someone that you can have chats with about, I'm feeling like this, what would you do in this situation? Because actually it's going to make you feel like you're not on your own. And my final thing would be, surround yourself with like-minded people, because
Yeah.
these are the people that are going to keep you going when the times are tough. These are the people that you're going to be able to talk to, share your worries and concerns with, because it can be quite an isolating career. It can be a career that people are fighting with each other, that are not sharing. There is this sense of there's not enough work to go around.
Mm.
I don't think that that's true. I think what's more important is that you are healthy, that you are surrounding yourself with people that can support you, even if they should be in the industry with you. So surround yourself with other actors, because these relationships are going to build. And so I think it's really, really important that you surround yourself with people who are like-minded.
Mm. I love that. And obviously, get a coach.
Obviously.
Get-
Obviously. And I think if you're serious, and if you're ready to sort of like get going and kind of hit the ground running, absolutely 100% get a coach, because they are going to be able to tap into the areas of your life that you've not really uncovered, that are going to explode in your creativity.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would 100% get a coach. If you want to, if you're ready, if you want that focus and direction to kind of help you, propel you into the next phase, absolutely get a coach. Because actually they're going to help you see the different avenues towards, you know, the goal that you want. And it's not necessarily going to be the main way, but because there are several routes to get there.
Definitely. Yeah, there isn't just a traditional route.
Absolutely.
There's so many more. Also as well, I think with coaching, sometimes you can be moving forward, and then you get to this plateau, and sometimes you can't see, like, I always think of it like when you go to have your hair cut, you can't see the back of your head, but somebody has a mirror there, and the coach acts as the mirror. Oh, have you thought of this? You know, what about delving into this part? So if you are at that specific moment in time where you're thinking, I'm doing everything and nothing seems to be working, it's probably because you haven't seen the blind spot. And that's where coaching can really help.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here, Yvonne, and for sharing your knowledge. Where can the listener and the watcher find more information about you?
Absolutely. You can find more information about me via my website, which is yvonnedodoo.com. You can book sessions with me. I'm on Instagram, ydodoo1. I'm on Twitter, Yvonne Dodoo, at Yvonne Dodoo. All the socials, I'm there. Life coaching directory, I'm there. You know, you can access me, but the main way is via my website. Shoot me an email. My email is yvonne@yvonnedodoo.com. Would love to have a chat with you. If you just want someone to have a chat with, I'm absolutely there. Would love to book a time with you.
Amazing. And all those links, so you don't have to remember them off by heart, will be in the show notes and in the description. So you can contact Yvonne straight away if you'd like to. Again, thank you so much. Honestly, it's I love you so much, and I just love the knowledge. I was learning things. I gotta say them all. So we have to get you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Whenever you're ready, let's get a topic together and we'll get that sorted for you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all your knowledge and your wisdom today.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
There we go. Another interview all done and dusted, really. I just want to say a massive thank you, as I said about 50 million times during the interview, but Yvonne is such a great friend of mine. I wanted to get her onto the podcast today, not only to talk about her journey as an actress and how she's now developed into coaching, but also being a Black actress and what that really means, and how she has formed and created roles for herself. Because there is a gap here. There's a gap with minorities, with Black people, with disabilities within the arts, that we really need to step up and create those roles. And I was just so happy to hear that Yvonne was just like, no, I'm going to stick it to the man and I'm going to create the role for me. So don't give up. There's a will, there's a way. And it's never, ever about the resources. It's always about how resourceful you are with that. So, if you want to know more about me, head on over to michelletholay.com. Okay, michelletholay.com. And also, if you want to head on over to my Facebook page, which is Michelle Thole Life Coach, for a healthy dose of creative entrepreneurial business stuff every Sunday at 7 p.m. All that's left for me to say is, remember, if you like this episode, please tell a friend, subscribe and leave a review. I would be super duper happy. So thank you so much for joining me and obviously Yvonne in this episode, and I will see you again for another episode of the Performer Podcast. Have an amazing performing week. Bye.